There are 41 people on federal death row. This is part 4 of the series. Brandon Council, South Carolina, 4 years on death row. In Conway, a small city north of Myrtle Beach, Council was found guilty of killing Donna Major and Katie Skeen during an armed robbery at Crescent Bank. On August 21, 2017, in the afternoon, the man from North Carolina entered the bank branch and approached Major, the loan teller, with a weapon concealed beneath his shirt. Following the 59-year-old woman's shooting, Counsel fled into an adjacent office and discovered Skeen hiding behind her desk. Skeen, who was 36, was shot twice by him, once in the head. According to documents, he shot Major in the head after robbing the bank of $15,000 in cash. Counsel was taken into custody after 2 days. He said that he had shot the women to prevent them from raising the alarm. In addition, he made a number of odd claims concerning mind control, demons, and soldiers. Christopher Kramer, Texas, 5 years on death row. Ricky Fackrell, Texas, 5 years on death row. The death penalty was imposed on 2 federal prisoners who were found guilty of murdering another prisoner in Beaumont Prison in the Eastern District of Texas. On March 3, 2016, a federal grand jury indicted Ricky Fackrell and Christopher Kramer on charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. On May 9, a federal jury found them both guilty of first-degree murder after a 6-day trial presided over by U.S. District Judge Marcia Crone. They both plotted to kill another prisoner named Leo Johns. Johns was fatally stabbed on June 9, 2014, inside the federal penitentiary. The 3 prisoners belonged to the white supremacist organization, Soldiers of the Aryan Culture. Len Davis, Louisiana, 18 years on death row. In April 1996, Davis, a New Orleans police officer involved in a narcotics conspiracy case, was found guilty on 2 counts and given the death penalty for ordering the murder of a young woman who had witnessed him assault a witness in a separate incident. Paul Hardy, a co-defendant, was the one who pulled the trigger on the murder. In May 1996, Hardy was also given the death penalty for 2 convictions. The sentences and one of each defendant's 2 capital convictions were overturned by the Fifth Circuit. For both offenders, the judge mandated a second sentencing hearing. On August 9, 2005, a federal jury once more recommended that Len Davis be executed. Hardy is not facing the death penalty. Joseph Ebron, Texas, 14 years on death row. A jury found Ebron guilty on May 11, 2009 of killing Keith Davis in 2005 when he was incarcerated in a federal facility in Beaumont, Texas. On May 18th, the district court judge condemned Ebron as per the jury's recommendation. It was claimed that the defendant and the victim belonged to a gang in Washington, D.C. Since he was 15 years old, Ebron has spent most of his life behind bars. Edward Fields, Oklahoma, 18 years on death row. On July 22, 2005, Fields, a former prison guard, received a death sentence recommendation from a jury in Oklahoma's Eastern District. Fields entered a guilty plea to the murder of 2 campers in the Ouachita National Forest wearing his makeshift sniper gear. There was some proof that Fields suffered from mental illness. On November 8, 2005, a federal judge sentenced him to death. Marvin Gabriel, Michigan, 21 years on death row. Gabriel was given the death penalty on March 16, 2002, for a homicide that occurred in Michigan's Manistee National Forest in 1997. He was sentenced under the federal system since the victim was slain on federal land, even though Michigan does not have the death penalty. In his case, a federal death sentence was imposed in a state that had not approved the death penalty on its own, marking the first instance of this kind of action since the federal death penalty was brought back. A panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit reversed Gabriel's death sentence because the trial judge had not given the defense the opportunity to present the argument that Gabriel would not have received the death penalty had he been tried in a Michigan state court. After reviewing the ruling, the Sixth Circuit overturned the panel in May 2013. His attorneys then submitted a writ of habeas corpus petition. In a complaint filed in January 2017, it was claimed that Gabriel lacked mental capacity and described his lengthy history of serious mental illness, which may have worsened during the past years while he was detained on death row. Edgar Garcia, Texas, 13 years on death row. Mark Snar, Texas, 13 years on death row. These two federal prison convicts were recommended the death sentence by a Beaumont, Texas jury on May 24, 2010 for the murder of their fellow inmate Gabriel. In addition, they stabbed two prison officers, injuring them. On May 7, 2010, they were found guilty of the murder that took place at the Beaumont U.S. Penitentiary. Both prisoners were serving lengthy terms for trafficking illicit drugs. The FBI claims that the defendants were given a death sentence by the presiding judge that same day. Thomas Hager, Virginia, 16 years on death row. After 2 days of deliberations, a jury in Alexandria, Virginia, recommended that 34-year-old Hager be executed. This recommendation was given on November 1, 2007. Hager was found guilty of Barbara White's 1993 drug-related murder. He killed White, according to the prosecution, because she discovered the safe house he was residing at. Two of Hager's accomplices, who were also in charge of White's murder, were given life sentences and were forced to testify against him. The defendant was raised in a low-income neighborhood in southeast Washington, D.C., and his parents were drug users who mistreated and neglected their kids. Hager was sentenced to death by the judge right away. Richard Allan Jackson, North Carolina, 22 years on death row. On May 7, 2001, Jackson was found guilty in federal court of using a firearm on government land. This happened while committing a felony that claimed the victim's life. He was later given the death penalty. Jackson was found guilty on similar charges in a state court in North Carolina earlier. In 1994, he was found guilty of Karen Lynn Stiles' kidnapping and murder. Jurius Kamovas, California, 16 years on death row. Mikel, California, 16 years on death row. On February 13, 2007, a federal jury in Los Angeles recommended the death penalty for two men found guilty of killing Russian immigrants in a kidnapping for ransom scheme. The two individuals, according to the prosecution, abducted wealthy Russian immigrants from Los Angeles in late 2001 and early 2002 with the intention of extorting money from their friends and family. Three co-conspirators entered guilty pleas and provided testimony for the government during the trial. On March 12, 2017, the jury's death verdicts were finally enforced by the court. Daryl Lawrence, Ohio, 17 years on death row. He was found guilty on February 28, 2006 of killing Brian Hurst, a police officer, on January 6, 2005. This happened during an attempted bank heist in Columbus, Ohio. Lawrence was also found guilty of other bank robberies. On March 10, 2006, a jury recommended the death penalty. The trial judge reversed his death sentence, but in 2009, the Sixth Circuit overturned that ruling and reinstated his death penalty. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.